Most people don't struggle with laziness, they struggle with fear. Fear of starting, fear of failing, and most importantly, fear of finding out that the life that they might actually want might require more from them. So instead of naming the fear, they just call themselves lazy. And then that label slowly becomes an identity. What is up, guys? I'm Noah Peterson, or No P Speaks, as you may know me. Today we are kind of going back on path of my last video and kind of showing people, a different side of things that, doesn't really get talked about. Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to kind of get you guys an insight on this, but here we are. Laziness is convenient. It feels simple. It gives you a reason that doesn't require deeper reflection. But really just ask yourself this, right? Are you really lazy, or are you just overwhelmed by the life that you know you could live? Because truly lazy people, they don't ever feel guilty about being lazy, They don't. They feel that that's just who they are, and they don't have no self-reflection on that to be able to tell that that's not how they're supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to being lazy, I think a lot of us just have this negative inflection on ourselves because of how society makes everything seem and how easy everything seems to be living the life that you want, right? Lazy people don't lie awake at night sitting there thinking about what they should be doing better to better themselves, or not feeling bad about it. They don't imagine a better version of themselves. If you feel frustrated, if you feel stuck, if you feel anxiety ridden about your certain situation, that's not laziness. That's just being aware, okay? Avoidance doesn't look like nothing. It looks like staying busy with the wrong things. Endless scrolling, over planning, waiting for motivation, and consuming advice without applying it. Now that one was a big one for me, because I always remember when I started my content journey, and even a little before that, I would always watch videos like ones I make right now, right? And a lot of the time, I would always watch the video just because of the thought that I was putting in an effort. And I think that that's all I really got out of it, right? But at the end of the day, we all know you're supposed to be pulling that out from the videos, or even my videos, right? You want to be able to apply that to your life and actually see it, right? That's the only way that this stuff kind of works. So that was something for me that I always would watch these kind of videos, or I would always listen to people when they gave me this kind of advice, but I never actually applied it. You know what I'm saying? I heard them, but I didn't hear them. You start to tell yourself that you'll be ready when the time comes. You'll be ready whenever the time's ready, essentially. But ready never arrives, because readiness isn't a feeling, it's a decision. And decisions can be scary because they can ultimately change who you are. Here's what no one tells you about starting a better life. Once you begin, you can't pretend you didn't know better. Growth just ultimately removes excuses, and that can be terrifying. Because as long as you don't start, you can still imagine success without risking failure. Avoidance protects the fantasy, and action threatens it. The real tension isn't effort or laziness. It's between who you are now and what you would have become. Starting means outgrowing those habits or those people that you had before that kind of kept you in that same space without encouraging you to really get out of it, And more specifically, just the familiar people, right? The familiar habits and the familiar people and the familiar ways that you used to be. You have to outgrow all of that, even if they're uncomfortable. And staying stuck feels safe because ultimately, at least you know the rules, right? You know what your boundaries are, you know what you can and can't do. But growth feels uncertain, and uncertainty triggers fear. So your brain chooses comfort disguised as procrastination. Listen, you don't need more motivation. Motivation comes after movement, not before it. Waiting to feel motivated is like waiting for confidence before speaking, but it doesn't really work that way. Action builds clarity, clarity builds confidence, and confidence fuels momentum. But you have to be able to move first without any guarantees. Stop asking, what's the perfect plan? And start asking, what's the smallest honest action I can start taking today? Not impressive, not life-changing, just honest. Send the email, go for a walk, write that paragraph, apply it to one opportunity. Progress respects consistency, not intensity. Beating yourself up may feel productive, but it really isn't. Shame drains your energy, but self-respect builds it. Talk to yourself the way you would to someone you have a lot of faith in, right? Talk to yourself the way you would talk to someone else that you believe in, patient and honest. You don't need punishment, you just need direction. You're not lazy. You're standing at the edge of a life that asks you to show up differently. That's pretty intimidating, but here's the truth. The version of you that keeps avoiding the start isn't safer, you're just stuck. And the version of you that takes one small step today, even scared, even unsure, is already changing. Not because they felt ready, but because they decided to begin. I appreciate you guys for watching. If you liked the video, if you enjoy this kind of content and you want to see more of it weekly, I know a guy. So anyways, you guys have a great rest of your day. Remember that you can accomplish anything that you ever want. Put your heart and soul into everything that you do and show some love. Peace.